Welcome to FallCon 2025 here at the K-State Game Lab. We are joined by special guest Stefan Yates today, who's going to be sharing for us and posterity some painting information, strategies, techniques, know-how, if you will. So we are recording this for posting to the YouTube channel, so that way we have it. Stefan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Fill us in, teach us.
As Seth said, I'm Stefan Yates. I work in the Office of International Programs here at K-State. I've been at K-State for over 20 years in a variety of different roles, kind of all around. Do a lot of student-facing work. So anyway, we're going to talk about painting today, miniature painting. So right now our miniatures are outside drying because we just primed them. So we're going to talk a little bit about what do you do to get to that point to priming? What is priming and that kind of thing? Just a tiny bit. So, depending on where you get your miniatures from, they may be 3D printed, or they may be mold printed. Those usually come on a sprue, which is a big plastic piece in little pieces. If you get those kind of miniatures, you always want to wash them with soap and water. Most of the time, with mold injected miniatures or any kind of miniatures that are not 3D printed, they're going to use some kind of a release agent to get them out of the mold. That release agent will be on your miniatures and can affect painting. So you always want to wash them with just some warm water and some dish soap. Give them a little scrub with a toothbrush, make sure you get all that. You can't see it, but just make sure you get it off. Is basically what you're doing. You might want to do that with 3D printed as well. I have not had a problem with anything not sticking to a 3D printed miniature, but it never hurts. It's just soap and water, right? So that's general first step to anything. I wash them just on the sprue before I clip them off, let it dry. Okay. And then so speaking of sprues, you got to get them off somehow. It's always good to have a good pair of clippers. I did not bring any with me. I'm sure Seth probably has a pair of good clippers.
Let's give you a set here.
For a demo.
There you go. Show off all your tools.
Yeah, there you go. So, yes, nice little clippers, very sharp. Try not to use them for anything but the plastic you're cutting. Sprues, cut as close to the miniature as you can without cutting the piece itself. It'll save you a lot of work in the long run. So yes, this is a sprue with pieces. So you would come along here and you can find the little lines where they attach the pieces, cut them off.
With the snips? With
the snips. Just give it a little snip, flat side toward the miniature so you're not leaving extra stuff to trim off later. A lot of times anymore with good clippers, you may not have to do much work like cleaning up the piece. Most mold injected miniatures anymore don't have much mold lines. Sometimes they do. And you'll see those sometimes. The easiest thing to do with those is like a razor blade, a little razor knife like this. Yep. And when you're cleaning the piece, don't use the blade itself, just scrape it along. More at an angle kind of away from you and just scrape towards yourself and scrape the line off. That way it won't cut into the miniature itself and won't damage the piece or change the look of it.
Got your own thumb.
Yeah.
Try to prevent yourself from cutting your finger off.
Did you see that? I did this the other day with a kitchen knife, not a hobby knife.
I'm
much more careful with hobby knives.
And I was telling the group as I was doing, I was like, I'm terrible. I'm scared to death. I'm going to slice my finger off.
Right. Oh yeah. So files, emery boards, always good to kind of smooth those bad edges if you've got any. Like I said, most miniatures nowadays, I seem to not find as many parts that I worry about as I used to. The old metal alloy miniatures always had really bad mold lines, so you always had to clean them up pretty good. Let's see here. So, like I said, that's your first step is prep, right? So you want to make sure your pieces are nice and clean, ready to go. When I'm building miniatures as opposed to when I'm painting miniatures, I tend to work on one miniature at a time so I don't get pieces mixed up, that kind of thing. When I'm painting or priming, I usually do it in a batch. Unless it's like a special character or a big thing or whatever, then I'm usually doing at least 6 to 8 miniatures at a time. That way when I'm painting, I can start on one and I work my way down with one color. By the time I get back to the first one, it's dried. I can do either a second coat or I can go through and paint the next color. With assembly though, I usually try to just work on one at a time, or I get confused and I'm like, oh, what did this piece go to? I don't remember. So yeah, As far as glue goes, different people use different things.
Here we go.
Yeah. So
On demand.
there you go. Look at that.
Should have pulled these out earlier.
So yeah, looks like you've got some plastic cements more. Oh, you've got super glue as well.
Super glue.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. I'm a fan myself of the Gorilla Super Glue Gel.
Sure.
I like the gel. It doesn't run all over the place. It stays exactly where I want it. So, this is gel or
Yeah,
yeah.
it's got a gel.
Yeah,
So
the gels are always
the thicker
good.
consistency
Yeah,
to keep the piece on.
That thin super glue, yeah. And I personally, as you're talking about being afraid of things, I'm afraid of plastic cement.
Okay.
Because it basically melts and fuses the pieces together, and I'm always like, I'm going to screw something up with this stuff. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
only
this stuff-
use it when I have to
this
on
is
certain things. Yes.
Cameos, it's the consistency of water.
Right,
Effectively.
right. And
So
yeah.
it runs down very quickly. It's got a little brush to apply it, so you kind of want to make sure you don't over apply.
Right. And
And
you put it
it's
on
a-
both pieces, right, and stick it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and then a little bit of pressure.
I remember when I was a kid, my old model kits would always look like somebody had taken a hammer down a line on them because they had this whole groove from putting too much of the plastic cement on. So it works.
And then chip it away, right?
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's that stuff. So once you've got all that done, you've got your pieces put together, it's time. You can go a couple of different ways. If you want to base your miniatures, I suggest doing most of your basing except any kind of flocking, grass, leaves, that kind of stuff before you prime. What I do is I mix together, I've got some very fine sand and then some miniature railroad, it's called ballast. It's looks like little pebbles.
Okay.
I mix it together. I paint Elmer's glue. I thin down some Elmer's glue with some water, paint that on the base, and then I've got it in a container. I just shake it up and just run my miniature through it, and whatever gets on there, gets on there. Sometimes if I want to, I will add some little rocks beforehand. The thing with adding, or even little small pieces of sticks if you want a log on there, anything like that. The thing about adding sticks and logs, a lot of people paint their whole miniature and then do the base, and it looks like you put a little stick or a little rock on there. Whereas if you prime it and paint it with the miniature, it looks to scale.
Looks more natural.
Even though you're using a tiny little rock, it still looks like a tiny little rock unless you painted it. So once you've got your base kind of where you want it, like I said, some people don't even do the bases. It's fine. Just depends on how fast you want to do your miniatures, how much you want to get done. Then we go on to priming. For myself, I don't do huge batches at a time. I'm usually doing 6 or 8 miniatures or a dozen, whatever. I use these paint sticks. I sticky tack my miniatures to here. The little thing I like about this versus like we did today in a box painting them, I wear just a little plastic glove,
Right.
rubber glove, whatever, latex glove. I can move it around. I can get underneath. I can get all the sides really easily. I can angle it however I want. Instead of trying to angle the can around,
Right.
I move my miniatures. I can get everything done.
Yeah.
As far as priming, there are different methods to use depending on how you're painting. If you're using more of a speed paint or a contrast paint, the instructions always tell you to prime white, use the contrast or speed paint over it. If you're doing standard painting, regular painting, you would prime. You can use solid color prime if you want. If you want a brighter, more vibrant palette, you would use a white undercoat. If you want something darker, more gritty, use black. There's also gray, kind of for that in between. Like if you don't want, you just kind of want a standard. So a lot of people just use straight gray.
Yeah.
The disadvantages to different primes: black is harder to see the details on your miniature while you're painting. The lighter you go, you get natural shadow. You're going to see where all those details are a little better. But with the black, that's going to come as you paint. I'll explain as we go. The other thing that a lot of more practice painters use is called a zenithal prime. With that, you prime black and then give it a very light coat from either an angle or straight above with a white.
So entire thing black,
Yes.
and then with your can.
With your spray can. We're talking rattle cans only right now,
Right.
but you can do all of this with an airbrush as well.
You'd go right over the top.
Right over the top. Sometimes I go at an angle, like if you want more of a light source.
Like it's coming in,
Right,
like the sun
exactly.
is.
Usually from the front or the side. And I also have found that with these speed paints, a zenithal works really well if I go a little heavier on the white. It helps those shadows build even more underneath. The contrast paints, the speed paints do some of that shading, but if you've got the black undertone, you're going to get darker shadows in your like recesses and all that kind of thing, and it does kind of give it a little more contrast than even the paints over white.
Right. And it's important for us to note the contrast and speed paints are thinner by nature.
Correct.
And so they flow off of flat surfaces. They're kind of drawn into crevices, which is why they kind of naturally give those.
They naturally
The
give
shadows
shadows,
and
medium,
those-
and highlight tones all in one.
Because that's how
stroke.
they're chemically created, right?
Right.
Is that they work that way.
And I do like them. I do have some of my own that I use. It depends though for me on the surface I'm painting. I really like them like on cloaks,
Yeah.
fur, things like that. Not so much on flatter surfaces like hard leather or armor. Or I don't like the look as much. But for a quick job that looks decent, they're great.